I'm Gail Lescher, so I'll try and keep this brief, but I think it's helpful to know what I'm teaching out of. When I had my eldest daughter in my womb, I went with her father to hear Joseph Chilton Pierce and Betty Staley speak in California at St. Mary's College on the magical years of childhood. So that was 27 years ago. And I kept looking at my belly and saying, Carmen, what are you getting us into? This was this little baby who was going to be born and who seemed to be pulling us into Waldorf education and anthroposophy, although my sister-in-law was in the training to do extra lesson with Ingen Schneider at Rudolf Steiner College. So at first I was very reluctant to take on, and so over the next few years I had Carmen, and then I had Diana, and then I had Nicole, and so I had these 3 little girls, and part of me was very reluctant to take on this is how you should parent your little children. I kind of had some authority issues with that. And why is she looking at me? And but I knew there was something about it that was right. That was right, in that you can feel it in your bones, right, which I think we all come to at some point. As a parent in a school, as a student in a school, as a teacher in a school, that there's something that just feels right about this. And at the same time, I also knew that there was this side shoot off of education, which was biodynamic agriculture, and that I could get really, really excited about. So I knew that I knew Steiner was onto something, and I was willing to give this new way of thinking, feeling, being, doing a chance. So my daughters got older, my then husband went to Rudolf Steiner College, went through the teacher training program, and I just kind of sucked it all up as the side sponge. And he got a teaching job at the Live Oak Waldorf School. I was the spouse who came in and lazured his walls and did his chalkboard drawings and helped him with his birthday verses the night before somebody's birthday. And so I just kind of was there. I was there, but I wasn't there. And then a few years passed. My youngest daughter was in first grade, and the first grade teacher got pneumonia. Right off the bat, like after 3 weeks of school, got pneumonia. She was out for several weeks. And I had been teaching music the year before in the school, and it had a home play group. So a few of the teachers said, well, let's just call Gail and have her come in and substitute. So all of a sudden I was in a first grade with 20-some kids and was their teacher for several weeks because she was pretty sick. And then over the course of that year, I had to keep coming in because this teacher just never really got back to where she needed to be health-wise. The second half of the year, I started dreaming that I was teaching. We were talking about dreams this morning. And the only person I said anything to was my husband. I said, I'm having all these dreams where I'm at the chalkboard and I'm preparing lessons and I'm bringing lessons to children and So come the Mayfair, I go up to one of the kindergarten teachers and I say, hey, a little later today, maybe over lunch, could we sit down and talk? And she turned to me and she said, you want to arrange a time to come in and see the kindergarten children for next year's first grade? And I said, well, okay, well, let's talk later. And then I saw another colleague, and I said to her, I'd like to talk to you sometime, maybe over lunch. And she said to me, do you want to come in? Oh, so you want to arrange a time to come in to visit with the College of Teachers and interview for next year's first grade teaching position. And so it was like someone, me, I guess, unconsciously threw me into the river and just sent me right down the river into the first grade classroom. And so the following fall, I was the school's first grade teacher. So I did not do the training. I was just plucked and dropped in. So what I have done over the many years since then is just bring out of my enthusiasm for Waldorf education what can be done, what can be brought, and how to enliven the experience of these children through this education. So I tend to be very hands-on. I'm not ultra intellectually minded. I'm much more of a let's just do this. So everybody up. Let's just do this. So one of the things that was proposed was that we might work with some verses. And in your packet, I put in a few. I believe they're at the very back. And so they're on the back of the second to the last page and the last page. And varying schools use varying verses. These are ones that I'm familiar with, that I've grown to love and use as a warming balm on those days where I'm not sure that I can get into the classroom and do what it is I hope to do that day. So the second one down, the morning teacher's verse, I think is a nice one to just begin with. We would say this as teachers first thing in the morning, about a half hour before class would start. Those of us who could get there would gather and speak this verse. We would also say it after the calendar of the soul verse for that week. We have the will to work by letting flow into our work that which, coming out of the spiritual world, strives to become human in us, in a soul spiritual and life bodily way. Good morning. So we're going to sing for a few minutes. So turn to, let's see, back of page 4. We'll start with this. So I'm going to start on this first day with some of the songs that are for the younger grades, and we'll gradually work our way into some of the older ones. So the song goes like this. The autumn wind blows open the gate, oh my Gail, for you we wait, we follow you, show us the way, with joy we greet this autumn day. Good morning, good morning. And it's quite high because this is the first grade. So gentlemen, you might want to start down here. Okay, that's all we're going to give that one, because we have lots of songs to sing. On the next page is a really lovely, reverent, pentatonic song that we would sing before our blessing. I'll sing it through once, and then we can sing it through together. Earth, who gives to us this food, sun, who make it ripe and good, sun above and earth below, our loving thanks to you we show. So I'm singing it slightly different than what's written there. And that's so indicative of Waldorf education. The important thing about the song is that it is this early grade pentatonic mood of the fifth quality. It's very open. It just floats along, and it's supporting the children where they are in the lower grades. It's supporting them being cradled down to earth instead of thunk. Here you are. So always working to incorporate those types of songs in the lower grades. And then, conversely to that is, if you go one page further, the back side of the next page is the harvest song, and I'm also starting with a lot of fall songs, just because we're beginning, and in the fall you are beginning. This is a song that, if you're doing a Michaelmas play, and you've got the younger grades possibly doing the harvest and bringing in all of the crops from the fields, they can be singing the song as they bring their wagon in to the village for your play or what have you. The boughs do shake and the bells do ring, so merrily come our harvest in, our harvest in, our harvest in, so merrily comes our harvest in. Let's just sing that much. The boughs do shake and the bells do ring, so merrily comes our harvest in, our harvest in, our harvest in, so merrily comes our harvest in. We have plowed and we have sowed, we have reaped and we have mowed, we have brought home every load, hip, 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 our harvest home. The bells do shake and the bells do ring, so merrily comes our harvest in, our harvest in, our harvest in, so merrily comes our harvest in. So it starts, it has the refrain, and it goes back to the top. So let's just sing it one more time. And you can imagine this song is very different from the last one. This is a song you can skip to. This is a moving, active song. This is one that the children love because it so embraces their wills. The bells do shake and the bells do ring, so merrily comes our harvest in, our harvest in, our harvest in, so merrily comes our harvest in. We have plowed and we have sowed, we have reaped and we have mowed, we have brought home every load, hip, 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 our harvest home. The bells do shake and the bells do ring, so merrily comes our harvest in, our harvest in, our harvest in, so merrily comes our harvest in. Terrific. Now, in the first grade, I might bring in a certain song and use it as the song that's going to set the rhythm for passing beanbags around a circle to get everybody to have their beanbag. And then I'm going to take that same song, and in third grade or maybe fourth grade, I'm going to bring it back with two other songs into a three-song piece of music, which unusually is called a quadlibet, although it's 3 songs, not 4. And I'm going to teach you 2 of these. One of them you have the music for. The other one we're just going to learn, and we'll do that one right now. So there's 3 songs, and you probably know at least 2 of them. So we're at success right off the bat. The first one is peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold, peas porridge in the pot, 9 days old. Some like it hot, some like it cold, some like it in the pot, 9 days old. So you can imagine I've got the basket of bean bags, peas porridge hot, everybody's peas porridge cold, passing, peas porridge passing, 9 days old. And so they're just gonna keep passing those around the circle until everybody has one. So that's a wonderful way. You're all just on the floor and send them around. So they'll know that. So when you come back later, we'll do the other 2. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. Voila. Who knows Ram Sam Sam? Yes, okay. Oh, ram sam sam, oh, ram sam sam, gooly 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 gooly, ram sam sam, oh, ram sam sam, oh, ram sam sam, gooly 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 gooly, ram sam sam, oh, Raffy, gooly 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 gooly, ram sam sam, oh, Raffy, gooly 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 gooly, ram sam sam. Okay, who wants to sing Ram Sam Sam? You too? Okay. London Bridge. Okay? So, yeah, well, why don't you go, for now, let's go ahead and stand with your London Bridge, people. And then peas porridge hot? Peas porridge hot? Okay. So it's important that we start on certain notes. So the notes that we start on are the ones that I started you on before. Otherwise, it won't sound so pretty. So peas porridge hot will start. Then I'll bring in London Bridge. And then I'll bring in Ram Sam Sam. Okay? And once I bring you in, just don't stop until I go like this. Okay? This is so much fun. I love teaching quadrupeds. Ready? Peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold, peas porridge in the pot, 9 days old. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. A ram sam sam, a ram sam sam, gooly 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 gooly, ram sam sam, falling down, my fair lady. London Bridge is falling down. People like it cold, some like it in the pot, 9 days. Start walking around. London Bridge is falling down. Walk around. Falling down. London Bridge is falling down. My fair lady. A ram sam, a raffy, gooly 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 gooly, ram sam sam. A raffy, gooly 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 gooly, ram sam sam. A ram sam sam, a ram sam sam, gooly 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 ram. Okay, huddle together so you can all hear each other. Falling down, my fair lady. Skin like it hot, skin like it cold. Some like it in the pot, 9 days old. Ram sam sam, ram sam sam, gooly 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 gooly, ram sam sam. Yay! Good. Thank you. So, thank you. So you can see 2 completely different songs. They fit together like hand and glove.
How do you spell quadlib?
It's in the packet. It's at the top of the page on your other Quadlibet one. Okay. So now we're going to jump into something a little more challenging. No. No, and you would not do this with a first grade. This would be, typically in 3rd grade, you're bringing rounds. You could bring it at the end of a 3rd grade if you have a really good, savvy musical class. Otherwise, I would wait till 4th grade. Let's...
Why that is?
Well, so... We're not... we have this whole idea of the circle as being the circle. The circle. The circle has been, I believe, misconstrued over the years. The circle is completely appropriate in the kindergarten. It is appropriate in the 1st grade. But as the children get older, unless there's a reason to have them in a circle formation, it is not necessary to have circle in that way. What is important is that the children are moving and integrating what they're learning into their bodies. So if you're in 7th grade and you're still doing circle, I would consider changing that up. And instead you might have a bit of brief incarnating movement first thing in the morning, and then maybe play flutes, and then you're going to do some mental math, and then you're going to do a review of the lesson, and then, maybe in the review of the lesson that requires a little bit of movement, so back up out of your chair as you are, and you're going to do something, and then you'll go back and do some work. So it's there. What's important is that you are establishing in the rhythm of your lesson a breathing. That is the key. That there's breathing between thinking, feeling, and willing within every lesson. And obviously some things will want to come before other things. You will want to have your story at the end of the lesson, because you're going to then use the broader, larger breathing of the night to allow that story to work on the child when he or she is sleeping, and then bringing it back the next day. So it depends on whether you're working with a 4-year-old or a 12-year-old, what it is they need. So, yes. Oh, 1 minute. Thank you. I didn't even get the... So let's... Yes.
One more question. How did you know that you could put those 3 songs together? I'm sure.
Someone else did that for me.
Okay.
Just like you did.
Yeah, someone, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, someone said, hey, these songs go together, and we'll do another 3 that also go together. And there are books. You can find other songs. People do this. People will either find songs that go together, or they'll create songs that go together. Let's just go to In the Winter. This is a Mozart canon. Talk about jumping ahead. And this would be a song that I would teach. It's around. A canon is around. You could teach it to a 5th grade, but it might be really challenging for them. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, definitely within their realm of possibility. And let me just sing it for you, and then I think we'll stop for today, and then tomorrow we'll sing it. It's a challenge. It's a more challenging round. It's not your simple early grades round. In the winter, the trees and grass lie sleeping. In the winter, the world is laid to rest and lies in peace until the spring. Then in the springtime, trees and grass awaken. Birds begin to sing, and the raindrops fall and waken every living thing with joy for all. And then the summer heat brings forth a harvest sweet. Oh, beauteous nature brings the blessings of the fall. We thank thee, O Lord, for thy blessings. O Lord, we thank thee for thy great beauty, thou who rulest justly over all. So you can see it's and you don't just sing one part, you sing all the way through, and everyone's just filing in behind you and singing all the way through. It's pretty spectacular when it's sung and when all of the timing fits together. So do you want to try it? Because we did spend more time on introduction, so I'm let's just go through it and just listen to me. Ready? Let's get our note. In the winter, the trees and grass lie sleeping. In the winter, the world is laid to rest and lies in peace until the spring. Then in the springtime, trees and grass awaken. Birds rest, begin to sing, rest, rest, and the raindrops fall and waken every living thing with joy for all, rest. And then the summer heat brings forth a harvest sweet. Oh, beauteous nature brings the blessings of the fall. We thank thee, O Lord, for thy blessings. Oh Lord, we thank thee for thy great beauty, thou who rulest justly over all. Rest, rest, rest. Yeah, so that's Mozart for you. All right, so Does anybody need to just stand up and stretch for a second? If you do, go ahead. And so we're going to jump into freehand geometry. And I know that for some of you working with the young grades, this may all seem so far ahead of where you're at. So please ask questions. So we're going to look at freehand geometry, but first I want to say that this is going to begin in 4th, or for many teachers, they're going to choose to begin it in 5th grade. Again, there's this kind of misty range of when to begin things, and so much of that is going to depend on your class. If your class can barely carry a tune, you're probably not going to bring in rounds at the very beginning of 3rd grade because they're just not ready for it yet. So, and getting back to your question too, David, so we're looking at the early grades as this slow, gradual incarnation into the physical world, not this quick leap in. So thus, we have the pentatonic flute. We have this mood of the 5th tonality that we're going to bring to the young child. We're not going to bring a heavy driving beat to the young child. We don't want them to incarnate too quickly. We want this to be a slow, harmonious incarnation into the world that's full of beauty, that's full of health, goodness, and security. That's why Waldorf schools that are charters and have to do testing every year, the children in the 1st grade do miserably.
Maybe miserably till 3rd grade.
And gradually improve because we're really holding them back in those lower grades. So in the realm of all of the forms that are going to come all the way through, there's going to be this very slow, methodical increase of challenge and difficulty relating to the age and developmental need of the child. So when we talk about all of the different form drawings that are going to occur, we have the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade who are going to be drawing, by and large, linear forms. And each form is going to be presented to the child not as a thing, because what could we say this is? Children, let's draw a castle wall. All of the forms that are being brought to the young child are being brought that this is only the end manifestation of chalk on a board or pencil on a paper of movement. So the first 3 grades, form drawing is not about the form. You may end up, as Brett has at the back of his classroom, beautiful colored forms, shaded, outlined, gorgeous. That's just the end result of the work that has been done leading up to that fixed, dead form. What comes before it is going to be a lot of movement, either whole body physical movement, walking the form, climbing the form, going down, coming back up again, tracing it with your finger, drawing it on your desk partner's back. All of these different physical movements are going to occur before we get to this. And this is just the final manifestation of it. Okay, and this is really important. If you are only drawing a form as a picture, and that's the role of it and the goal of it, then you're missing the larger point, that we are trying to immerse in the child this sense of spatial awareness to the world. And that includes going forwards, going backwards, going sideways. And if you're a school that does not have eurythmy, it's even more important that you're bringing these form drawing movements into the classroom and really move them. And oh, there's the drawing, it's the end. It's the last couple of minutes. And they may want to draw the form over and over and over again, and that's great. But the movement has to be there first in their bodies. Yeah? So, first through third grade, we're going to have ever complexed forms. They're going to go from the linear forms into a series of forms that are overlapping and into forms that have loops and whatnot. So there's many forms. And all of them will be practiced. You may include a story. You may have, I had in first grade a brother and sister, and they were my storyline for all of my form drawings. And they would go out on adventures every day. And their adventures would become the forms for that lesson. So there are excellent books out there on form drawing, giving you lots of examples. But again, that's just going to be the end of the process, the end of the line. And all of the physical work that went up to it needs to be in place prior to that, okay? So when we get into fourth grade, or for some of you fifth grade, if you're spending a lot of time in fourth grade doing Celtic knots, then fifth grade would be when you would begin looking at the geometric forms. But for some of you, it might be halfway through fourth grade. You have to decide that. So there's a place to begin with the early forms, and that is looking at comparison and the archetype. So we are bringing to the child at this age the beginnings, and again, back for the kindergarten teachers, the curriculum is such a linear wave of events. And every one of them is so amazing. You know, when you get to 8th grade and you look back and you realize how many things started a seed here and then grew here, and then it's not harvested until 6th or 7th grade or 8th grade. So there's all these things that are being planted, sown along the way, that will come back to you later. So you have these early form drawings. And then you have these middle years where you're going to start to ask the child to bring something out of themselves. You're going to ask them to identify a circle or walk a circle. But now, instead of you being the one who creates for them this imagination, this image, this movement, now you're going to start asking them, drawing out of them, create this for me. Create a circle. What is a triangle? Does it have equal sides? And all of these beginnings of observational discernment are going to turn around a few years later in all of your phenomenological physics work. So what you sew in 4th and 5th grade with geometry and with other classes, but particularly with geometry, is a sense of them starting to cultivate within what am I looking at and how can I best describe it. So you're asking them to look at truths. So a good beginning place is for them to compare things. How is this different than this? And say why. Why is this circle more beautiful than this circle? Really looking at the archetype. What makes that circle really perfect? So if I could have a volunteer. Thank you. Come on up front here. And would you please, Holly, walk, and I know this will be kind of small, but I want you to walk a circle. Thank you. And would you walk it one more time? Thank you. Now, did anybody notice anything about her circle that she walked? Anything about her, where she was looking? Okay, so now I want you to watch her. Go ahead.
She was always looking along the circle, along the path
Okay.
in front of her feet.
Okay. Is that accurate? All right. Would you, this time, bring your gaze up just a little bit more so we can see your gaze, because that's something that was noticed, and do it again?
Like,
Sure,
just
another
like
circle.
just- okay.
Yeah, maybe just, looking up, so. So Holly's really needing to look at where she's going to make her circle, yeah? Okay, is there any time during that where you didn't have to look where you were going? And this isn't a judgment. We would probably all do the same.
No.
Okay, now I want you to walk a straight line towards me and close your eyes.
Okay.
You're halfway.
Okay, I was gonna say, let me know when I'm getting
You're there. Okay, so how was that different? Why could you walk, and did she walk a straight line?
Yeah.
Okay, why could you walk a straight line, but you had to watch where you were going when you were doing the circle? Any ideas?
Oh, that's a good question.
Well, there are two different steps when you walk a circle. There's only one kind of step when you walk a straight line.
And the two different steps when you're walking a circle?
Swing in step and a swing out step. Or swing in step and a swing out step.
A swing in step.
One cuts across your center line,
Okay,
and one cuts out from your center.
okay. Now, Holly, you're doing really great. Would you walk a really small circle? Even smaller. Okay. And now walk as large of a circle as you can in this room. Uh-huh. Okay, thank you. Any difference between her very smallest circle and the very largest circle?
Well, when she's walking in her smallest circle, you really can't even discern whether or not she's walking backwards or forwards.
So there's very little forward movement?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And anything else?
With the big circle, she's walking around the room and she didn't need to look that much in front of her. It was like it was already, she knew where she had looked and scouted it out and knew where she had to go and just.
Okay.
And she did like adjusted to the whole.
Okay. Is she in this very small circle? or even in the very large circle, is she ever walking a straight line?
Truly or ideologically?
Either way,
Yes, no.
is she walking a straight line at any point? Well, let me ask you this. From step to step, is she walking a straight line?
It seems more, with the larger one, it felt more like walking a straight line for sure.
Okay, so really, from step to step, she is walking a straight line, is she not? But she's turning ever so slightly for the next line, and ever so slightly for the next line. Yes? Would you agree? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, could I have someone else come up? Just gonna win the prize. Okay. Now, Brett, go ahead and walk. Go ahead and create a circle, and it doesn't matter which direction you go. Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do is imagine the width of your circle, what size it was before. Now, this time, what I want you to do is use the same length, but I want you to start bringing in your sides a little bit. Okay? Okay, and can you do an even tighter one? Okay, differences between his circular movement and the two following.
Well, it becomes more like he was walking a big circle on the sides here. And
Okay.
then when he cuts a sharp angle, the step that cuts across the center line has to become very sharp.
Okay. So the turning, at times, there's more forward movement at times, and then there's more extreme turning at other times? Okay. Do you agree? Okay, thank you. So what we're trying to bring right off the bat is we have this shape. So let's have the circle. And with the circle, what we want the students to understand is at every point in the circle, it's exactly the same. There's never a change. Every step has the same distance and the same degree of turn. Yeah? Okay, now how does that differ then when we go to Brett's first form after the circle? And then the second form. Okay, so this would be plenty to give the children and have them draw these forms. But then I would really start exploring further. Okay, so if this is our circle, every time we take a step and we turn, well, I would actually stop. Before I would do that, I would have a child take a copper rod or a dowel and I would have them walk the circle again. And I would ask the students to look at, imagine if they were looking down from above, perhaps, what's happening with every step when I have this. Okay, so what would that look like? Someone tell me and I'll draw it. if I have this and I'm a person along this path, where is this going to be?
It's going to be outside of the first one. It's going to be outside of the circle that you're walking.
Okay, so like this? Could it be like this?
Yeah. Yeah, just as a static.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if I'm here, this is going to be here, yeah? Or if we went back to Holly and we didn't even have a physical line here and we just asked where was Holly looking, because we were really paying attention to where her gaze was, then we would have just that, right? And this represents her gaze when she's at this point on the circle. So you can do it either way, and it might be easier to start with just the gaze and then bring in this object because we will get into tangential lines. Okay, and then when she's here, where will it be? Okay, so her gaze would be like this, and that tangential line or the dowel would be like that. And so as we work our way along the edge of the circle, we're going to create this continual series of lines like so, yes? Okay, so what happens when we move into this shape or this shape? What's going to happen?
The angle of the lines when you're on the part where you don't have to turn as sharply, those are going to be, the angle's going to be much more
So if I just draw,
yeah.
okay, so
Maybe
there's one.
flatter if you just
Okay,
do that.
and then what happens at the corners?
Then they become much sharper. Or even maybe better would be more contracted, more of them.
Uh-huh, okay,
Space.
yes. So can you see this? And if we make the ellipse even more so, you can see that that's just going to be amplified, yes? So what I would have the children do is a circle, an ellipse, and an even stronger one, and have them use color to identify the energy of this. So the circle, probably, what color would go along with there being just basic homeostasis? What color might you use? Black? Blue, purple, yeah, probably a cooler color. And then save when you get to, so here I might use a green. And then as it starts to get more tighter, then I might move to a yellow, and then as I go around the corner, a more dynamic red, and then back to green. That's a different green. And so on. So you're wanting the child to experience this dynamic change from the circle into these other forms. And then you can take this whole presence of the circle and move it to the next place. And that is that we're eventually going to need to talk about angles. So you can give a story of the early astronomers and their awareness of the fact that certain constellations or stars would rise on the horizon at a certain time of year, and they would have to wait until a full cycle, a full year, before they would see that same constellation rise on the horizon. And the 360 arose out of the fact that it was approximately 360 days from one constellation's rising to the following year's constellation rising. So the early science, phenomenological scientists looked at that and said, well, all right, so we can take a sphere and divide it into 360 degrees. And from there, we can then look at what it's like if there's a horizon. If this is 360 degrees, then what is all of this up here? How many degrees would that be? 180 degrees. And if we divide that in half, we have how many degrees? 90, or the square angle. And if we divide that in half, we have
45.
the 45. So then you can be working with your class on finding those and finding them everywhere, finding them in their movements. So now I'd like two people to come up. Let's see. No, actually, yeah, we can come up. I'm going to grab one more. Yes, please.
Did you want two?
Yes, I need two people. Thank you. So I'm going to have you stand, and this is going to be a really minor practice of this, but if you would each stand down here at this end, facing towards that cabinet. And what I would like you to do, and stand side by side, is, yeah, this is going to be really tight, but we'll see what we can do. Yeah, that would be great. Okay. I'm going to scoot this over a little bit. Okay, so as close as each other as you can get, so you're almost starting at the same point. So we're really close, feet as close as possible. Okay, yeah. All right, now, you're going to walk at the same angle as each other from the center line. So you're not going to be able to go very far out, obviously, because we have all these obstacles, okay? But pay attention to each other, and you're walking a straight line, no curves. Begin.
I'm not sure.
Same angle out.
The same angle out from each other,
Okay.
okay? So you're going to have to watch each other.
Oh, we gotta take a step.
Go for it. You're curving. Okay, pretty good. So are they? Did they do it?
I think so.
Yeah, they're pretty close. They're pretty close. We have obstacles. I know we have obstacles. So, but these types of experiments where you're just and you obviously you could do this out on the parking lot or your asphalt or whatever you have. Draw chalk lines and have the children partner up and walk at varying degrees, or just use your arms. What degree and have them estimate. What degree is this? What degree is this? What degree is this? And just play with it with their physical bodies, then start sending them around the room. Find angles. Thank you very much. Find angles. And out of that, you can have them make their own protractors. Okay, so just as we did here, if this is 180, well, we can find 90, we can find 45, and we can just keep finding halves and work our way down to some pretty accurate degrees. And then have them walk around and find things outside, find the planter out with the geraniums, find the tabletops, find whatever, find things and start recording them. And once they've played with that for a while, then you can introduce to them the acute angle, the obtuse angle, the straight angle, and the full angle, and just go through all of them and have them practice drawing them and practice writing them out. I had them draw them just concretely, and then as just a more of a playful artistic assignment, I said, okay, now you need to do a drawing and make angles of all different shapes, sizes, overlap them, just play with it. But, you know, do a drawing where you're showing a lot of different angles. This is a way of, okay, we've done our work, we've had our winter activity. This is a wonderful geometry, perspective drawing. All of the different geometry drawings are wonderful blocks to do in the winter when you're looking for that clearness, that clarity. Doing one in May is probably not your best time. You want to do it when there's this more crystalline mood in the child, in the world. So describing, finding the angles, go to the clock. Ask them to look at the hands on the clock. What angle is that? Have them look at the second hand in relationship to the minute hand. What angle is that? What angle is that? And really have them look. And a lot of it's going to be estimation, and that's totally fine. They don't need to get into anything more involved than that. Yeah? How much time do we have?
So we still have 15 minutes.
Okay. And, okay, so we'll break at 10:30 today? Okay, sounds great. Then you can look at intersecting lines. These angles, angle A and angle A, are going to be the same, and B and B. And A plus B is always going to give you 180. And just walking them through all of these different activities and have them look at them in the world, take their handmade protractors and go and prove it. Show me that that's what it is. Yes?
Materials would you use to have them handmade the protractor?
You could use a stiff piece of cardboard. Yeah.
Maybe a kind of strange question, but how would you have them record the angles? You said something about recording, you know, they go around and find the angles.
Yeah, so they might just, you might just have them go around the room, and maybe they've got set up a little chart on one of their main lesson book pages, and they just write down the corner of Mr. Smith's desk has 90-degree angles, or, you know, and just jot them down as degrees. Yeah. So we've done all this work with this archetype of the circle, but then we can go on and look at the circle in relationship to radically different forms. And this is where a lot of those early drawings in form drawings will come in handy, because so many of them are drawings where one thing metamorphoses into something else. So here we have the circle, which I'll just use that. And then, if we take our circle and begin to change its shape. And again, we can use the same exercise of all of these tangential lines around the side. So what's happening here? Here we have always the same. With the ellipses, what did we have? We get this rhythmical thing happening, right? It's steady, 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 quick, 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 steady, 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 steady. So now we're going to start looking at a new form. So we've got steady, 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 and then it's going to quicken again. And then it's going to be steady, 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 and then it's going to quicken again. And then, so now we're going to bring this, and it might happen in 3 or 4 stages where we move into the triangle. Okay? And by the time you get to the triangle, and hopefully it's a equilateral triangle, which mine is not. It's always hard drawing on the board from the side, isn't it? You just can't see what you're doing. So now you've introduced this new shape, and here, what do we have? In terms of, if we go back to walking with that copper rod or dowel, what's happening?
Yeah, it's going to swing.
So here we're constantly doing what? Walking around it. What are we constantly doing?
Changing our orientation.
And
Walking forward.
moving forward, right? So these are happening simultaneously every step of the circle. That's what makes the circle so unique. Sort of straight lines, quickening. What happens when we get to the triangle? So you are either doing what? You are either walking forward or you're turning, but you're not doing them at the same time. Okay? So this is a wonderful, this is where we get into these lovely comparisons. And it may seem a little laborious to go through this process, but it's so helpful for them to take all of this inside and internalize it. So now we've got steady, 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 and then in one fell swoop you've got turn, 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 and then back to steady, 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 turn, 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 and so on. Yep. So from there, you can explore the triangle. So spending some time with the triangle. And again, all of this is freehand. The students will not have rulers for these activities. They will not have protractors, compasses, anything to help them. This is where we want them to work hard on pulling this out of themselves. Now when we get into 6th grade, they're going to have all of the tools for them to use. Now you're in Rome. Now you're in law. You're in order and form. But first they have to understand and internalize these forms. And then they can work with the tools. So, a variety of exercises. You can have the equilateral triangle, and then a larger one, and a larger one, and have them work on the lines being parallel, which you will have gone over parallel with them when you do your angles. So you can have a series of drawings, maybe 4 of these nesting triangles. You can have triangles that overlap one another. You can have triangles that fit together. You can have triangles. Imagine this form, and then if you turn these out, so you'll have that. And then keep playing with them. So you've done nesting in this way, then you can take the equilateral triangle and start using the same base, make them smaller, starting with an equilateral triangle, making them taller. Taking the equilateral triangle, starting with your base, and bend it. Move it over to here. Keep the base the same. Do a full. This one I find really interesting, and I often wonder if a student is going to say, well, I think that looks like something from early film. You start with your base. So they've done this already one way. And now they're going to flip it. So you can see where all of these metamorphosing form drawings, thank you, from the earlier years come into play, mirroring things. One, two, three, four, five, six. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does anybody see what's happening here? Can you see the movement as perspective? If this piece is raising up, you're looking down at it, and it's coming this way out towards you. So here it's really foreshortened, and then it lays back down again. So let's take a break now.